I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today is the very first episode that I'm doing in Tulum, in our humble abode, Ik Tulum. That's the place that we're staying at. To the left over here is our hot plunge, cold plunge, hot saunas and things like that. Behind the camera and stuff is a whole other entity where Emma's standing at right now, where we do our lap pools and things like that. And to be honest, this has been an incredible fucking experience. I can't even comprehend the fact that I'm sitting here recording a podcast in here, and you can probably hear a kid yelling in the background. There's so many people here that are just enjoying life. There's people from all over the world speaking different languages. There's people here that are just here locally that you could tell just come here for the weekends. And, you know, I'm just super fucking grateful to be here. And I'm so excited to get all these videos up and running for you guys. And, you know, it's honestly incredibly mind-blowing, the fact that I'm sitting here recording a podcast episode as part of my life. You know, I remember starting this so long ago, and I probably say this stuff every single episode, but again, I gotta give you guys that full transparency as to how grateful I am, because at the end of the day, there's no point in working for anything in life at all when there's no grace given to yourself, no reflection in terms of your growth and being proud of what you've been doing, and just giving yourself the good graces and the good praises that you deserve for showing up. You know, we're always so eager to show up and put in the work and become the best versions of ourselves, but we're so quick to deny ourselves entry to our own versions of ourselves, of being proud, praising ourselves, being happy and fulfilled. And at the end of the day, we can sit there and beat our head into a wall focusing on the glass being half full, but we always got to look at the glass as half empty. We always beat ourselves up looking at the glass as half empty and focusing on what we got to do next, focusing on where we got to grow next, focusing on the next steps and the things that we got to do to become that best version of ourselves. But we got to be just as quick to focus on the glass as half full and focusing on the things we've done, the work we put in, the mental health changes, the physical change we've had, and the boundaries we've set to be in the position that we're in. In today's episode, I want to talk about, you know, you're a product of your environment. And you got to be the one that's incredibly strong and will and heavy with your will to just show up and be that best version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you have 9 people around you that are broke, you have 9 people around you that are out of shape, 9 people around you that aren't going for those heights in life that you're going for, you're unfortunately simply going to become the 10th. And the thing about me is, I was a product of my environment. I fell victim to drugs. I fell victim to be addicted to different avenues of my life. I was drinking a lot. I was partying a lot, doing different drugs. I was miserable at work. I thought my life was over. I figured that there was going to be no hope for me. And at the end of the day, I thought there was a sense of certainty within that, because I was just hanging with a bunch of other people that were doing the same shit. And it was so incredibly hard for me to break free from that. And that's why I want you guys to understand that you're a product of your own environment. And unfortunately, you can't bring everyone with you. You have to be incredibly selfish with your goals and incredibly selfish with what you want to bring to this world, because at the end of the day, you're not going to leave this world with anything but what you've done. And in those moments before you look back on your life, those last 4 or 5 breaths, those dying moments when you're 150 years old and you know it's your time on the end of this earth and you're not going to be here anymore, you're not going to think about all those people that you were trying to please. You're not going to think about all the people that you were hanging with and trying to be a part of their communities. And you're not going to think about all the validation from these people. You're simply going to look back on your life and regret what you didn't do for yourself. You're simply going to look back and regret you not holding firm on your standards and your beliefs. You're simply going to be looking back and unfortunately know that you fell victim to being a product of your environment. And unfortunately, when it comes to things like that, you have to be the one that always understands that when you take the gamble, when you take the risk, when you're the one that's willing to show up and get up early in the morning, go to sleep late at night, and make sure all your T's are crossed, make sure all your I's are dotted, make sure all the check boxes are checked for your goals, you have to be the one to tell everyone to go fuck themselves. You can't bring everybody with you. And unfortunately, that's a hard concept for a lot of you guys to conceptualize, myself included. I feel like I would have so much more years of success under my belt if I just had let go of a lot of people. And it's crazy because at the end of the day, your standards are always going to be subjective to your goals. It's always going to be on you to say if you're the one that's putting in more work than the ones around you without an arrogant tendency behind it. Because at the end of the day, you know, our egos will run rampant, and there is going to be that little bit of a imposter syndrome of, am I being arrogant? Am I being too much? Am I being too ambitious? Am I too goal-oriented? Am I trying to work too heavy? And to be honest, for me personally, I didn't give a fuck about nobody else. I worked harder than everyone else around me at the time. And 90% of the people that said they worked hard as I did were lying. They straight up were lying. And the thing about the lies is you're not stupid. As a human, you have intuition. You can chalk that up to God. You can chalk that up to spirituality. You can chalk it up to just intuition. But when you read between the lines and you have that sense of people around you not putting in as much work, not being as authentic with who they are as a people, and the whole, let's say the whole society norm of everyone trying to fit in. When you're the anomaly, when you're the one that's kind of standing out and kind of putting in the work and willing to risk and gamble your life for that betterment, to look back and be like, look what I fucking done with my life, you're going to have to be the one to realize that. Are you going to rise above to be the best version of yourself, or are you going to be a product of your environment? I grew up with drug addictions around. I grew up with alcoholism. I grew up with I remember my aunt moved in when I was in high school and pawned everything that I had. My Xbox, my Nintendo 64, my GameCube, my every single thing that I've ever owned in my entire life, she pawned it and snorted it up her nose. My cousin literally got back pay from being ADHD and having mental health issues, and she literally blew all that on drugs as well. I moved out at 17 because of these things, and I had all of the cards are playing against me to be another drug addict, to be another failure, and just let life be as it is. And I could have been a misery loves company and settled for that. But instead, I decided to risk it. I decided to be better than what I thought I needed to be. I'd just want it more. And the thing about that is you're going to have people, excuse me, you're going to have people that come along with you that have similarities as you. Like, they like the idea of what you're doing. They like the idea of being in the best shape in their lives, but they're not putting in the work. They like the idea of having a career that's fully financially stable, that they're fulfilled in, but they're not really doing the change that need to be doing it. They like the idea of having high boundaries, having high standards, having no anxiety, having no depression, and all these things, but they just don't do the work. And these people here are going to make it seem, at the beginning of your stages of growing and changing your life, they're going to make it seem like they're there for you, like they're supportive, and like they're sitting there and trying to help and raise levels of your life as well. But at the end of the day, they're just using you as a little bit of a leverage for people around them to say, look what this guy's doing and look what I'm doing. But behind that closed door, they're not putting in any of the work. And I have a lot of close friends that actually, I lost 3 close friends. I won't name them, but I lost 3 close friends based on that idea. Because the first product of your environment is your family. It's going against your family dynamics, your family beliefs, and challenging what you saw growing up. And for you to challenge what you saw, what you believed in as you grew up from a financial situation, if you don't believe in certain things growing up. And I know for me personally, I grew up on welfare. I grew up on social assistance. And, when I realized that, not saying that's a bad thing, but when I realized that money just wasn't being managed as well as it should have been, then it's like, it's not as bad as it really seems. We're being victims in terms of where we're at, when there's a lot of capabilities and possibilities to convert into a very higher abundant financial ailment, or a financial abundant position in life. So it's like, I wanted different than that, and that took a lot of courage for me to sit there and say, I don't believe in this way of living. Then when it came into the fitness side of things and nutrition, it's the same thing. Like learning nutrition, learning about fitness, learning about health, learning about longevity, like that wasn't really part of my growing up. No one really talked about these different things. Same with retirement, same with families and getting married and certain things. Like, so the first part of challenging your environment is changing all of those beliefs, having a ton of courage to be able to make those changes that you need to do. That's the first step. But then as you grow and accumulate different people in your life that are bringing different levels of that life with you, you find people that are on similar journeys as you. They have similar beliefs, they have similar goals, they have similar ideologies as to where they want to go, but they're not 110% doing the work that they want to do. They do just enough to not be in the position that their family's in, but the harsh reality behind that is that they're just not doing enough to get out of that position. They're there enough to say that they're better than the people around them, but they're not there far enough into their own zone to see that growth. And that's where I lost those 3 friends, because when I started working on my business, if you know me, I'm willing to give you everything off my back. I'm a firm believer that, law of attraction and karma. That does me no good stealing from you. It does me no good misguiding the truth to you. It does no good to me to put anything to you that's a fraction of what it shouldn't be from an authenticity standpoint. So for me, I was always authentic. I was willing to put in as much work as you were willing to give me, and I took that at face value. To realize that behind closed doors, people were just lying about what they were really struggling with, lying about the work ethic they were really doing. And for me personally, I was willing to die on my sword. I was willing to go out and bleed until I died, because I believed in that much of change. I believed that much more was out there in the life, that I didn't have time to do those things. So the 3 friends that I lost, the second part of the product of your environment is really challenging their beliefs as well. Because again, just because it got better than what you used to have doesn't mean that's where you need to be. And I'm going to say that one more time. Just because you have a better situation now than what you used to have does not mean you're done putting in the work. Does not mean you have everything you want. Just because I got a job and wasn't on welfare working and not on social assistance and had a career, that doesn't mean I was willing to settle for that. I was making $50,000-$60,000 a year at a very, very good job, and to me that still wasn't enough. And it's not a financial thing, it's about a freedom of life. I didn't want to work 45, 50 to 60 hours a week for another company that didn't serve me, that didn't give a shit about me. Literally, I'll remember, like, I got a 25-cent rate or 10-cent raise, and the manager had the nerve to look at me, hey, did you notice that in your paycheck? After taxes and everything, I got an extra $10 every 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I don't want to give you 60 hours a week, 120 hours every paycheck for an extra $10 fucking dollars. So again, the second part of, like, you know, changing your environment was having a different belief system from that. And then when I started talking about making money online, because again, it wasn't about making money online, it was about having freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want. Because if I'm putting in 60 hours a week, 120 hours every 2 weeks, the success is inevitable if you're being authentic with the work. And, you know, like I said, you accumulate these people that say they're putting in the same amount of work, but at the end of the day, you have that intuition, you have that guidance, you have the spiritual connection with God, or like you said, if you believe in vibrations, whatever it is for you, but you read between the lines and you're like, it just doesn't make that much sense. Because if you were putting in as much work as you said you were, you would be further in life, or you'd have more answers, or hell, you'd be able to support me better. Because again, if you're the one that's always looking for a better lifestyle, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and you're the one that people are always turning to, who do you turn to? Because if you turn to anybody that you cannot get any clarity from, or if you turn to anybody that can't give you that reciprocated energy that you're giving them, you have an anchor. And that's, again, you're going to become a product of your environment. You have to have people in your life that are doing more than you, that you look up to, that you're inspired to. And it's not an ego thing. It's not an arrogant thing. It's about understanding who you are as a person and what you're willing to do for yourself. And if you're willing to actually put in the work and actually show up for yourself, then you can do a lot more than you ever imagined if you focus on the right parts of your life. And being a product of your environment is just one of those hardest concepts to change, because you only understand what you understand, and you only know what you know. So how do you challenge all that? Which is why I'm saying it takes an incredible amount of courage to challenge those belief systems, to challenge those things that you're literally challenging things based on your idea of what you think you can deserve. I said this to one of my clients the other day when they were talking about having a hard time staying committed and motivated to their goals. The thing that gets me fired up is I'm trying to create a lifestyle to be able to put myself in a position to raise a family so my kids can look at me and I can look at my kids and know I did it. I'm 30 years old right now. I have no kids, nor do I want to even start a family and have kids for another 3 to 5 years. And it's like my entire motivation right now is the kids, is the family, is the abundance, is being able to look back and say that I've been able to put myself in a position to give them all this stuff. So it's a pigment of my imagination. But again, I can feel it in my intuition. And when you back that around with your belief systems and back that around with what you're actually willing to put in for work every single fucking day, the proof is there. The proof is there so much more than you realize. And you got to realize that you're going to become a product of your environment, and you can't bring everyone with you. I wish I could bring all my family members. I wish I could bring all my friends and family. But at the end of the day, I don't. Because they don't deserve to be there. Anyone that's there at your winnings needs to be there at your losses as well. And the ones that are there at your losses without any shame, without any guilt, or without any judgment, the ones that just help uplift you and make you realize the work you've put in, which is why I'm saying focusing on what you've done with reflection, giving yourself grace and being proud of the cup being half full, and the fulfillment side of life you're actually building is so important. And if I had someone to just tell me, and I remember actually, I have so many people that tell me different things, but had I had someone tell me a little bit sooner in my life that, you know, if you're going to be the one to show up and put in the work and, like, you know, actually do everything that you say you're going to do, you have to lean on yourself so much more, and you're going to feel arrogant. You're going to feel bad. You're going to feel like you're almost like, you know, you're like, it's just a lot of negative emotions because you're cleansing yourself. You're literally challenging the belief systems on life that you've never seen. And I can promise you a handful of things. Number one, if you can just double down on your standards and double down on your beliefs within yourself, you will be absolutely mind blown as to how much of your imagination that you think that life can be will come true. And it's just crazy. Look, I'm sitting here in Tulum right now recording a video podcast episode on a camera, like running my life based on these beliefs, based on these gambles, based on these risks. I wouldn't be doing this any other way. So, you know, and I've had millions of people, not millions, I've had these 3 friend groups, these 3 core people in my life try to tear me down based on their idea of their success. And this is the thing as well, not to go on a side tangent, but your level of success and your idea of success and their level of success and their idea of success isn't the same thing. That's why you got to understand it's not an arrogant thing to want more out of life
just because their goals are a little bit lower. And I actually want to shout out G, because G was one of my really close friends. Now he's one of my brothers, and he was one of the first guys that I actually got a coffee with. We went and hung out. We talked about our goals, and we were both genuinely inspired by each other's goals. He wasn't offended that I was aiming higher than him. I wasn't offended that he was aiming higher than me. We looked at each other and was like, damn, you're aiming higher over here. I need to do that. And he was like, damn, you're aiming higher over here. I need to do that. All these other friend groups looked at that as me wanting more than them, and meaning they made it feel like as if I said I was better than them. And that's not the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is I had courage to believe in more. I had courage to believe in myself, and I had courage to take the risk for it. And when you can just get rid of anyone in your environment that just doesn't double down on those standards, doesn't double down on those double down on those the courage and willing to put in the work, you're going to realize how much abundance you have in your life. Because when you remove the negativity, you remove the small-minded people and just focus on the ones that actually are reiterating the same standards to you, I'm telling you, it's a multiplier effect. It's a multiplier effect from the standpoint of, it's like, as you get faster, it goes 1% faster, one times faster, 2 times faster, 3 times faster. Eventually, you're going to be so abundant, flying so high in your own standards, your own life that you've built, you're going to have a whole other problem to deal with, which is why it's important to focus on the fulfillment and giving yourself grace. Because I can tell you, like the episode that I released the other day, I prayed to be where I was at. Now I'm focusing on being where I prayed to be. Do you see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, we can show up and put in the work. We can go to the gym as much as we want. We can take the certificates. We can take the mentorship programs. We can spend the money to try to get the information. But if you're not appreciative of that growth you've had, there's no point in it at all. And when you have people around you that aren't even appreciative of you as a person in general, then you're just got a double negative. And then you wonder why you're spinning your tires, and you wonder why you're feeling guilty and all these different things. And then you start second guessing yourself when you shouldn't be. So that's all I really got for today's episode. I really want you guys to understand, if you're the one showing up in the gym to get the best version of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, you got to be the one to lead from the front. Don't let anyone else tell you that anything else left, right. If they're not doing as much work as you, honestly, and they don't have as much courage as you to challenge themselves, you can't listen to someone that's doing less than you. If you have somebody out there that's like, pushing you to be the best version of yourself from a financial standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, any standpoint, emotional standpoint, those are the people that you want in your lives. Because if someone pushes you to be the best version of yourself for yourself, and you push that person to be the best version of themselves for themselves, there's no such thing as losing. It's winning on top of winning on top of winning on top of winning. And then when you can get your lifestyle into that type of an abundance, when you can get your lifestyle into that type of a lane, and you just focus on that solely, I can promise you things will be incomprehensible with how great they can be. And I think that just gets me so fired up, because it's just, I remember what it was. I get cold chills when I say this. I remember like it was yesterday when I was drinking too much, doing too much drugs, and literally looking in the mirror with hate, looking in the mirror with disgust, looking in the mirror with just hopeless. Being like, when I met Emma, I settled. I was like, I'm going to die of a 45-hour heart attack. I'm just going to do these drugs. I'm going to drink. I'm going to work at this shitty-ass job. And it is what it is. I tried my best. And then when she installed into me a little bit of love, true, authentic, genuine love, and I realized that she just genuinely cared for me as a human being, and I haven't really ever been in a position to honestly allow someone to do that for me and honestly do it as authentic as she did, it tore me down. It made me realize how much hate I had. It made me realize how depressed I was. It made me realize how low I was aiming in life. And now, where I'm at right now is all based on that spark of love she put into me that I turned into an inferno. I removed every single person, every single thing in my life that didn't double down on it. I doubled down on the risking everything for myself, and I never fucking looked back. And I want you guys to know, if you have 1% of your foot forward and you know that you're putting in the effort to change your life, double down on it, make it 2%. And eventually it'll be 5%, eventually it'll be 10%, and eventually it'll be 100%. And then you'll be looking around you almost questioning why people are even speaking to you with the manner that they are with such low frequencies. And you're not even going to fucking hear it, because you're going to be so locked in on your own shit. So remember, you're a product of your environment. If there's 9 people around you that are broke, you're going to be the 10th. If there's 9 people around you that are out of shape, you're going to be the 10th. And if there's 9 people around you wasting their fucking time, not taking advantage of the little bit of life that we have on this planet, you're going to be the fucking 10th. Double down on your own standards. Let's fucking lock it in. Let's get it. Trying to find a pot to piss, showing all the ups and downs, shit.